theyeshiva.net.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome. Page 241, or Kuf Chaf Aleph, column 1, the paragraph on the top, which starts V'zeu Inyan Purim. V'zeu Inyan Purim, al Shem HaPur Hu HaGoydel. After what's been discussed about the real experience and reality of Mesiras Nefesh, we could now come to explain the concept of Purim, the name of Purim, which is named because of the Pur Hu HaGoydel. As discussed above in the beginning of Ois Ches, Perek Ches, that the name is one of the strangest components of Purim, because there are so many things you could name the holiday for. And the most important thing is, of course, that the Jewish people was saved from a horrific edict and decree of complete annihilation and genocide. So you would have expected a name choice that would reflect this theme in some way or another. Maybe choose one element of the story, whether it's a name of a person or it's the experience. What's the name that they chose? In actuality, Purim. So the Megillah says, why? Al Shem HaPur Hu HaGoydel. Because of a lot that Haman cast when he was trying to figure out which day would be the most suitable day to implement his vicious and evil decree. So he didn't just choose a day that came into his mind. He went through a procedure, a process we call a goyrel. He cast lots until he got this day, as the pasuk says, he cast lots which month, which day, and it fell out on the 13th day of Adar. This seems like a completely incidental, almost irrelevant part of the story. That Haman, when he was making the Gezerah, made a goyrel. Fine. Aklik is Megashen, so that's why we named the whole holiday Purim. And there's two elements here in the question. First of all, it seems like a very incidental and inconsequential detail, almost irrelevant to the story. And even if you're going to explain somehow his reason for doing it, so we named the holiday based on Haman's act when he was preparing the Gezerah. Shouldn't it be named on the fact that he was defeated, that we were saved from him? It's almost like we're commemorating him in the name. It's a very strange concept. You don't have it by any other Yom Tov. Not Chag HaMatzos. It's named for the mitzvahs. Man Cheresenu, Chag HaShavuos, Chag HaBikurim, Chag HaOsef, Sukkos, Yom Kippurim, Rosh Hashanah, Chanukah. The pshat is azay. K'may ha-goydel, when it comes to a goydel, she'apilu goydelos. When you say you make a goydel, you cast a goydel, you cast lots. What is it? Eich she'yipul ha-goydel, kach yakum ha-dover. You make a goydel, you say, we're going to make a goydel. And whatever the goydel decides, whatever comes out in the goydel, whoever wins, that's how it's going to be. In those games, those spinners, right? Wherever it stops, that's it. Musical chairs. The music stops. If you have a chair, great. If not, you take a goydel, you put in all the pieces of paper into the hat, and you choose one. You're a zoicha b'goydel, and this becomes yours, whatever it is. Whatever the particular purpose and function. But the point is, Eich she'yipul ha-goydel kach yakum hadavar. Shetoila adam es ritzoynai b'hapolos ha-goydel. The person somehow is hanging up his will. He's attributing his will on what the goydel, on how the goydel is going to fall out. Shekash she'yipul ha-goydel. However the goydel, the lottery falls out. Hein oilav, whether it's a yes or a no, because you don't know. Maybe a goydel between two people. Maybe a goydel between 1,000 people. This is what I agree to. This is what my will is. It's not fair after the Geidel you say, no. That's what a Geidel is, that we all agree. What am I agreeing to? I'm agreeing to something that the Geidel is going to decide, and I say decide quote unquote. So, on the surface level, it seems random. Why did you win the Geidel? Why didn't it? It happened. It's called luck. We call it luck. Why did this?
Fate of the draw.
Fate of the draw, exactly. Why did this person win the lottery for $360 million and I didn't? That's what a Geidel is. He chose the right numbers. These numbers came out. There was no conspiracy. At least we have to hope so. I'm sure there are conspiracy theorists about every Geidel, right? Somehow somebody knew somebody. The Geidel came out. These numbers were chosen out of the hat, as they say, out of the blue. It's called Mazel. That's on one level. That's chitzonius externally. What Balatanya is introducing here is that Geidel represents, even though externally it could be seen that way, but Geidel represents something much deeper. What is it? He says, Im kein toilu esritzoyne b'mekayr haratz. The concept of Geidel is that he connects his ratzon, his desire b'mekayr haratz, with the source of ratzon. Meaning, shenikru ratzon pashat. This is called ratzon pashat. We'll explain what it means. Ratzon pashat literally means a simple desire, or a desire divested, pashat, divested from other layers. Ubezayah nikra. In Sefer Hazayah, this is the concept known as Raiva the Chol Raiva. Raiva in Aramaic means ratzon, desire. Raiva the Chol Raiva means the ratzon of all the ritzainas. The desire, so to speak, behind all of the desires. Raiva the Chol Raiva. Chol Raiva means all the desires, and Raiva is the desire behind. Of all the desires, this is the desire. Shalamayla mebchinas gilui haratzon, which is beyond the regular revelation of desire. If somebody wins a Geidel, say there's a Geidel for something, like there's the lottery we spoke about, they draw it and you win it. And somebody will come to you and say, could you explain to me, what's the connection between you and this victory? Does it have to do with your personality, with your history? And the answer is, of course not. That's what a Geidel means. The reason we call a Geidel random is because we're not choosing it based on virtue or some algorithm or some system. In other words, most things in life, or many things in life, you don't win through a Geidel. You get them because somehow sometimes it's just good luck. I guess a lot of things are good luck, which you'll call a Geidel. But generally speaking, you worked for this, and you ended up with this. And that's the system, how we live our lives. You want to accomplish something, you dedicate time to it, you have to explore it, you have to study it, you have to figure it out. Hopefully, you're suited to the task, and then you can achieve. Be'ez Hashem, you can achieve success, a lot of hatzlacha. That's not called Geidel. A person in life ought to look, do I have certain talents? Some people are better than others in different things. Every person is unique. There's a whole branch of people who go to coaches, right, to counsel them what type of career to choose in life. The exact opposite of Geidel. I want to ascertain and examine who you are, what are your strengths, what are your weaknesses, what are your virtues, what are your vices, what are you good at? Sometimes people invest their time and energy in things that they're not good at. These are things you have to hire somebody else. It's a mistake that a lot of people make. They're doing things that they're not good at. They have to learn it, and they're always making mistakes. Where really this you can delegate. Right? A smart person is somebody who knows who to hire. You have to know who to hire, who to delegate. Because generally the way a person lives life is, you try to match the project to the person. You don't throw somebody into an activity or a field of life that they have no shaykhs to, they have no connection. And you hope somehow they're going to win the lottery. You can't build a career based on you're going to win the lottery. It's not called building something. You have to build it on the right skill, the right talent, the right people. That's the opposite of Gadol. That's called Ta'am V'das. That's called being rational. And there's a lot of room for that in life. It's an important aspect of life. It's being rational and seeing this can produce this won't produce this. And many achievements a person achieves in life is as a result of that. You dedicated time and resources and energy to pursue this goal, hopefully successfully. Hopefully there was a good match, and then you achieve it to one degree or another. When I ask you, why did you win the Geidel? Explain to me why you and not me. What's the answer? There's no answer. Azai. That's what the Geidel said. What do you mean? But it's not fair. It's not fair. Why did you? It's because you're more talented. It's because you deserve it. It's because you're trained for this. It's because you'll do a better job than me. No. If it's for those reasons, we didn't have to go into the Geidel. If something belongs to me, or something ought to belong to me, then that's not a concept of Geidel. Geidel means that there's no reason to differentiate between this one and this one. That's why I don't have a choice. Why should you win and he should lose? So we throw a Geidel. What does the Geidel say? The Geidel says it now belongs to you. Why? That's a ridiculous question. The Geidel doesn't work, and it's not predicated on whys. That's how it is. So we call it luck. Random luck. Tomorrow I may win. The next day you may win. The next day nobody will win, or so other people will win. We have a word for it. We call it luck. What does luck mean? It's good luck. You had good luck. No connection to you. But there's also the concept of Geidel, the exact opposite. Not lower than Tam V'das, but higher than Tam V'das. The connection is not a rational one. The connection is deeper than explaining it through rationality. And that's what the Geidel represents in the ultimate true sense of the word. It could seem random because it's deeper than Seichel. The relation, sometimes you're connected to something and you have an explanation why. There's a logic, there's a reason for it. It works in the world of Seichel. That's what we call Tam V'das. Sometimes you have something, Lamata Metam V'das, we spoke about. That's what we call just random luck. There's no reason for it. There's something called Lamayla Metam V'das. Lamayla Metam V'das means it's connected to you in a place and in a way that is deeper than any rational explanation. It's connected to your very essence, to your very core. That's what Geidel represents. The relationship between you and the Geidel is not more superficial. It's deeper. What makes it deeper? Makes it deeper is it's not defined and limited to the systems and world of logic and sense. Just like we explained about Mesiras Nefesh. There's a Mesiras Nefesh Lamata Metam V'das. There's Mesiras Nefesh Al Pi Tam V'das. There's Mesiras Nefesh Lamayla Metam V'das. Lamata Metam V'das means what's called indoctrination. You're actually not connected to it. You have been brainwashed. You have not used your mind. And a person sometimes makes decisions based on that. Those decisions are called blind. They're blind. Why are they blind? Because you actually don't see reality. Somebody indoctrinated you with material, with ideas or truths, and you may kill yourself for them. And sadly, we know about these experiences. If you open yourself up to reasoning, to scrutiny, to critical questions and examinations, you won't, because you know instinctively that that's dangerous, because you may be disproven. That's how cults work. All cults work this way. I want to shut your mind. I don't want to open your mind, because minds are risque. Using a mind is dangerous. Once your brain is functioning, you may ask questions. If I could shut down your brain or repress it and scare you into something or convince you into something or just brainwash you into something, great. Then there is something called Tam V'das. Tam V'das now varies from Tam V'das. It varies. What's Tam V'das? What's logic? What's logical? Right? There's primitive logic. There's biased logic. Listen, with logic you can justify almost anything. Just logic itself. There's not a tyrant. I don't know if there's a tyrant in history who hasn't justified what he has done in logical words, in logical terms. For him, it makes sense. It's very, very vulnerable. It's very pliable. Logic is pliable. Can schlep in a hair and schlep in a hand. The big debates now in the United States of America, everybody has logic on their side. But the truth is there's something deeper. And that's called ratzon, desire. And ratzon is deeper than seichel. Even though it's hard for people to admit, but this is the truth. Ratzon is much deeper than seichel. In fact, our seichel is defined based on our ratzon. That's why the Pasuk says, "Hashoiched ya'aver einei chachamim v'salav divrei tzadikim." Bribery affects people so deeply. Bribery doesn't mean that I receive a bribe and I maliciously pervert justice. That happens too sometimes. But bribery is much deeper. I don't know that I'm perverting justice. My bias defines my logic. I read an article from a professor in Harvard, a scientist or a physicist, and it was an extraordinary confession. And he wrote that all of our research explaining natural selection, which means evolution, of how life was formed some 15.3 billion years ago, supposedly, and how it developed. It sounds scientific, but I have to admit that underlying everything was a deep desire to demonstrate that religion is futile. Huh? Yeah. If I could just get rid of God, wipe him out of the equation. There's no need for it. Now that was a tremendous, tremendous revelation. Why? Because this is ratzon that's underlying seichel, and it's often unconscious. It's not always conscious. That's what bribery means. Bribery means I'm biased. Why am I biased? Because I have a certain desire, but I may not identify it. It may be completely concealed. It's a good question. Is there bchira for that?
Or to add to that question, should we call this will rather than desire? Should ratzon be turned?
Will, yeah. I think on the most basic level, the bchira is to identify it. To be able to identify. To be able to identify my bias. To be able to identify the ratzon behind my seichel. That I have bchira for. Yeah. So there is ratzon. That's what ratzon pashut means. Ratzon pashut means ritzonos itself. There's also many ritzonos. You learn about something and you develop a will. That's not ratzon pashut. The word pashut comes from the word mufshut. Mufshut means divested. Like a person is upashat as begadav. We have in Chumash, right? We say it in the morning. What's upashat as begadav? He removes his clothing. He strips the layers of garments on top of him. Mufshit means, lahafshit is, you have hefshit, vinituach in karbonis. Hefshit means skinning, removing the layers, removing the covers. Ratzon pashut means a ratzon that is a very interesting term. It's divested, it's stripped from all the layers on top of it. Usually ratzon comes with a lot of layers. Doesn't come as pure ratzon.
You spoke about this as being the ratzon that the therapist is trying to get to.
Yeah. Right.
I think you're doing something for this reason, but
right. And here's the klal. The Balatanya said, today it's already, the recent Maamer, the last few years, it became a big yesod, and that is that if ratzon has a reason, that's not the real ratzon. It always sounded like if you have reasons, oh, that's it. No. The reasons are the cloaks, they're the levushim, they're the garments. The ratzon gets dressed up in them because it's packaged better. But that's not what's going on. Where you can identify a much truer layer in a person is that's called ratzon pashut. Ratzon pashut means a ratzon that's mufshut, a ratzon that's divested. It's stripped from any layers. So you'll say, why? And the answer is, this is a place that precedes why. This is who I am. This is who I am.
And everybody has such a ratzon.
And everybody has it. Everybody has it. And when I could go to that place, that's where healing happens. Because that's where I'm getting in touch with the core of the pain, or the core of the joy, or the core of the need, the void, the attachment, or the wound. That's where it is. It's not a comfortable place to be, especially if you consider yourself a logical person. And you sit down on the couch by your therapist and you explain everything. Everything is explained. And you're eloquent too. So you have biurim and explanations and Rashi and Tosfos and Marsham and Ramshif and Yeshoinim and Achroinim on your whole life. But this is alles Bubemaises. It's all, it's a garnish, it's bubkis. That's not what's going on. And you'll go, but why? But why? You go deeper. You have to be mafshit. You're wearing like 20 layers of clothes. You got to be mafshit. One layer, one layer, one layer, one layer. And at the end, what is it going to be? This is who I am. And I'm not going to be able to give you a reason. I'm not going to have a mathematical or some logical or brilliant philosophical reason. This is Rotzen. So it's called Rotzen Pashut.
Is it always rational? Is it always irrational?
I wouldn't call it irrational. I would call it super rational. Super rational. Not irrational, but super rational. The inyan of Ratzon is not to dafka be irrational. That's not the mitzvah here. That's another type of bias. I have to be a meshugana.
Pre-rational.
It's pre-rational. It's super rational.
How does a person get Ratzon stressed and good?
No, so it's because the neshama has a Ratzon Pashut. The only thing is that the Ratzon is could be so cloaked in so many conceptual garments that it's very, very hard to get there, to touch it.
Definition, can you if it's a something, by definition, my consciousness can't
right.
So
Right.
It seems like a concept that you strive for. You could pay a lot of money to a psychotherapist to get to a point where he agrees that it's your Ratzon Pashut, but he may be full of...
Of course. I was just giving a mashal, yeah. I don't mean that every therapist is...
At the end of the day, does it take the separation of good and neshama for a person to understand what his real self is? That's my question.
I don't think so. I mean, I assume there's many levels in that itself. So yes, to a certain degree you would be right. But even within the guf. Yeah.
So there would be variations in
Of course.
what a person perceives in his...
Yeah, and you're right. I mean, like we learned in Vayadaita, all awareness that's processed through the guf is ultimately mitigated, right? I mean, those limits are inherent. In Zohar, this is the expression called Raiva the Chol Raivan. Raiva the Chol Raivan means the Ratzon of all the Ritzonos. What means the Ratzon behind all the Ritzonos? Because there could be so many desires and yearnings and wills, but what's the Raiva the Chol Raivan, the Nekuda, the pnimius of it?
And that's always inborn.
It's who I am. It's who I am. It's my innermost core.
It's not the same thing. It's necessarily born with it. You could have part of as your nature nurture. That's like might have been born with it.
So it sounds like a journey back to oneself.
Yes. So this, he says, is reflected. This is what's defined as the word Geidel. Why Geidel? I'm asking why Geidel, right? It's a contradiction in terms. That's what a Geidel represents. On a spiritual level, that's the concept. The Pasuk says that B'cheik yutel ha-Geidel me-Hashem kol mishpati. The Geidel comes from Hashem. So on one level you say, yeah, Hashem wanted it to happen. That's why you won the Geidel. On a deeper level, what it means is, this is what Geidel represents. My connection to something is not, rationally, this is yours. Rationally, it's not mine. So why is it mine? And the answer is that in this place, there's no why that needs an answer. Because this is it. This is my truth. This is my innermost core. By a Jew, the Ratzon beyond all the Ritzonos is the Raiva the Chol Raivan. The Balatanya once said in Yiddish, Ayid nicht der will und nicht der ken sein abgescheit von Göttlichkeit. It's an expression. A Jew, not he wants, or she wants, nor can he be separated from godliness. This encapsulates this idea. What does it mean? Ayid nicht will nicht ken. But was can nicht? If I want, I could. The answer is you could on external levels. That you could. In your innermost Ratzon, the Ratzon Pashat, the Raiva, the Chol Raivin, is one with the Ein Sof. Like he said earlier in Perek Ches, that you'll have a person, you'll give him all the wealth in the world, all the covet in the world, Alts in the Welt, and there's a void. Sometimes his only connection with Raiva, the Chol Raivin, is that he has a void. He doesn't know what's the void. But the void itself is pointing to it. There's a void. There's something missing. And remember, it's very hard to admit this. This is not an easy thing to embrace. And that's why I'm going to try everything else to fill this void. And I'm going to go to extremes often to fill this void. And if my bias is very, very deep, often my bias will stand behind and not let me go anywhere else. Why? Because there's something fueling a lot of what I'm doing or what I'm not doing, and I'm going to make it make sense to me. Why am I going to make it make sense to me? Because I'm being distracted from my innermost core. And you'll sometimes see, and it's hard to argue this point in a laboratory because it doesn't work that way. But you'll sometimes see a person, they follow a certain pattern in life. And they have a whole philosophy behind it. And when you speak to them, they're very, very soft-spoken and very, very tolerant and extremely, extremely logical, quote-unquote. And it's all a facade. What's the facade based on? It's based on a certain deep Ratzon, which is still an external Ratzon. It's not the Raiva, the Chol Raivin, but some deep Ratzon. And it's the ultimate bribe. It's the ultimate bribe that is fueling all the explanations in the world. And I'll find a justification for everything.
Sometimes when people don't want to discuss it anymore.
Yeah. They'll get very angry at you. When you'll touch that, they will blow. Why are they getting so angry? So many shkarim, so many. They'll get so angry at you. When you will try to burst that bubble, they will defend it like a lioness and a lion defend their territory.
Here's the skin, veil, the tissues made when you get down to the bone and everything's stripped away.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that is nature or nurture. That's before anything?
Okay, so there's obviously a Ratzon, there's things from nurture and there's things from nature, and very often it's a combination of both. Like the Rambam says in Hilchos Deis, that many of a person's attributes, we're born with a sensitivity or a proclivity, you're prone to them, and then nature often accentuates it and brings it out. So that itself is so complex. What comes from nature, what comes from nurture, what comes from the combination of the both. It usually takes two to, it's nature and nurture together that usually develops a person.
But the Ratzon that we're talking about here is the nature. That it's the other things that are with the nurture and it's the cover-up that.
Yeah.
After the core, the core is also.
Now we're saying that in Ratzon itself, there's a lot of Ritzonos.
Say before the Ratzon.
But then there's the Ratzon Pashat. And the Ratzon Pashat in the Jew, you go deeper and deeper and deeper. The Ratzon Pashat is Raivin, the Chol Raivin, that there's a relationship, a oneness with Hashem that is absolutely at the core that he can't separate from. He doesn't want to and he can't. And the reason he doesn't want to is because he can't. And the reason he can't is because he doesn't want to. What's Pshat? This is who I am. That's not Tam V'das. So this is not a Mesiras Nefesh as an investment. I invest and I'm going to get something. I want this and I want that because of this and because of that. The why and the because don't apply here. They apply in different realms, but not in this realm. In this realm, it's not a why and it's a because. It's an essential, innate, intrinsic relationship that is unbreachable and unbreakable. And when a person opens himself up to this, he's opening himself up to his truest self, and therefore to his truest self-expression. Everything after that is just a layer that eclipses it, covers it. That's what the Geidel represents. So I say, I want what the Geidel wants. The Geidel is going to decide. What says the Geidel is going to decide? On a deeper level, what does it mean the Geidel is going to decide? It's going to. What's the connection to me? It's random. What looks like random is really deeper than anything else. Because it's not based on a rhyme or a reason, which I can argue with, I can debate, I can refute, maybe yes, maybe not. And generally, the deeper in Ratzon you're going to go, the more and more you will graduate from the world of Tam into the world of Ratzon.
You said Mamala.
Yeah, we start Mamata Lamaila, yeah.
You said the Torah is a representation of the higher Ratzon. Maybe it's just the stum of incidental things. You saw the numbers and it's 1/6.
Because God doesn't play dice with the universe. To quote Professor Einstein.
So it's even more important to say that.
Okay.
Doesn't play. Especially if Haman chooses.
Oh, okay, 1 second. Now we'll soon see what Haman was thinking. Where did he come to this Geidels? How many Maamerim did Haman learn? That's the question. Okay. V'zeh, when you not Purim, and this brings us into the concept of Purim. Shegavoya yoyse gam b'chinas Yom Kippur. Ooh. In some ways, it's loftier than Yom Kippur. Why? Shara Yom Kippurim nikra Kippurim. Keloimar kemoya Purim b'chafa dimyin milvad. V'loi kemoi Purim mamash. Miklal shepurim atzme gavoya miyom Kippurim. It says in Zohar Tikkunei Zohar that Yom Kippurim, Purim al Shem Yom Kippurim is Kiriyas. That's the Lashon Tikkunei Zohar. Purim is named because of Yom Kippur. At the surface, doesn't seem to make sense. Kippurim means atonement, kapara. Purim is al Shem Apur Hu Agoyro. It's two different things, but the name is the same. But the Balatanya is Medayik here Amoyda Dika thing. We call it Yom Ha Kippurim. If we're learning Kippurim Lashon kapara, Yom HaKippurim, the day of Kippurim, the day of atonement. But loy, the Pshat in Zohar, Yom HaKippurim is al Shem, it's connected to Purim. Comes out that this is Kippurim, like Purim. That's called a Chaf HaDimyin, a Chav that compares two things to each other. Why is it not called Yom HaPurim? He says, because Purim is deeper than Yom Kippur. Yom HaKippurim it's Kippurim. Whenever you're comparing one thing to another thing, so that's the highlight. And now you're comparing, this is the source, and then this is right. This is the paragon. This is the paradigm. This is the archetype, as they call it. And now a person is trying to use a picture and make a painting from it. So this is the Iker, and everything is copying it. So you say Yom Kippurim, it's like Purim. That means it's higher than Purim. V'inyin hu kach. L'yois shagam b'Yom Kippurim ayu inyin ha'goyrolos b'shnei asirim l'fnei Hashem. The fascinating thing is that Yom Kippur, a major avoid of Yom Kippur, was also Goyrel. What happened? The Kohen Gadol, present Parshas Achrei Mos, v'nosan al shnei asirim goyrolos, l'fnei Hashem, the Kohen Gadol made a Goyrel. He had a box, and he took out from the box, there were two notes. One said La Hashem, one said La Azazel. And he placed it on two goats. He had a goat on his right and a goat on his left. And he would take these two things out of the box, place it on the two goats. The goat that got the La Hashem was offered in the Beis HaMikdash, and its blood was taken in to the Holy of Holies, the Kodesh HaKadoshim, once a year, and sprinkled in front of the Aron, Achas L'mayla V'Sheva L'mata. And then he would sprinkle it in the Heichel in front of the Paroichas. And then by the Mizbeach, this was called the Soyer Hashem. And then there was a second goat that got the La Azazel. And this goat became what they call in English the scapegoat. The English term scapegoat comes from this goat, because this goat, it says, carried on it all the burdens, all the sins of the Jewish people, and it went to the Azazel mountain. Why did this goat get to go into the Holy of Holies and this goat go to Azazel? Why? I don't know why. Because he was Zoycha B'Geirel. What's the why? Nobody had a connection with one goat. Fakir, the Mishnah says in Yuma, Shnei Surah Yom Kippurim mitzvasan sheyu shavim b'mara u'b'koimo b'domim. The mitzvahs that the two goats have to be identical in countenance and how they look, in height and in value, in domim. Ad kedei kach. In other words, when you're looking at the goat, you can't say, "Ooh, this goat belongs here, this goat belongs here." They're identical. If they're identical, why did you end up here? Why did you end up here? The answer is there was a girdle. How does a girdle solve the problem? Well, that's what a girdle is. Girdle means bad luck or good luck or different luck. Let's call it different luck. So Yom Kippur, we also have a girdle. And the Chazal say it has to be identical, so it emphasizes how much the girdle is relevant here. Because without the girdle, there's no differentiation. You wouldn't even know the difference. When you're talking about girdle in its truest idea, it's again, you're dealing with a rotzen pashat. You see how he says it? It's not that it's random. Its connection to you is beyond Tam V'das. You're not going to be able to explain rationally why you belong here, why you belong there. And in life, we have both aspects. We say in the morning, Ashreinu matoy chelkeinu, umanoyim goyrolenu. What's the difference? What's the difference between chelkeinu, goyrolenu? Chelkeinu means my chelik, my lot, my portion. Goyrolenu means our lot, also our lot, but our goyrol lot. There's a big difference. Chelkeinu is your chelik in life that belongs to you rationally. This is my chelik in the world. You know, this is my home, this is my career, this is my vocation, this is what I made of myself. You look into the mirror and you say, this is what I'm good at, this is what I'm not good at, this is what I'm going to pursue, this makes sense for me, this is the way I'm going to go, and you go there. And Be'ezer Hashem, you amass a certain hatzlacha, a certain fortune, and that's chelkeinu. And there are things that you encounter on your journey in life that it makes sense. This is where I belong. This is what makes sense. Then there's another element in life, and everybody has this element. It's called goyrel. You look at this reality and you ask one question. Why me? How in the world did I end up here? Wie kommt es zu mir? Huh?
Almost everything.
You say almost everything. Okay.
Well, you sing Hashem made a girdle.
This shir too?
You sing Hashem made a girdle, that's how I want to.
Huh? A girdle represents something that if I look rationally, it's just not connected to me. Or there's no reason it should be connected to me more than to anybody else. Who had this feeling in the most powerful way? This was Esther. When Esther is told by Mordechai what happened, what does she tell Mordechai? She says, I can't do anything about it. Why? You can't go into my husband's palace, to his chamber, without permission. And if he doesn't stretch out his scepter and give it to you, you come out of his office with a head shorter. Achas dase lahamas. I haven't been summoned to the king for 30 days. He has other interests these days. There's nothing I can do. Like I said, Kol Avdei HaMelech Yoidim. That's how she starts. Everybody knows. Everybody knows. This is common knowledge. Yoidim. That if you go in without permission, he doesn't give you the Sharvet Azov, the golden scepter, you're dead. You're done. Next. You call the Chevra Kadisha. So what's the point? You want me to go in, get killed, so who's going to be saved? Not me and not the Jews. What does Mordechai answer? We would expect Mordechai to say that if you don't do it, all the Jews are going to die, you have to take risks. He doesn't say that. Instead, Mordechai says that Revach v'hatzala yamid la Yehudim amakim acher. Im hachrish tacharishi beis hazois. If you're going to be quiet and passive, the Jews will be safe without you. It's a great way to encourage somebody, you know? You think I need you? We don't need you. People don't think about this. Who answers like this? I need you. If not you, the whole world is going to fall. That's how people motivate. You ever hear motivational, they try to summon you for a job? It's all you. Mordechai says, no. I'm not going to tell you, I'm not going to sell you any mises. I'm not going to sell you no Pissim or Ramses. I'm not going to sell you a Brooklyn Bridge and a George Washington Bridge. Ravach vatzol yam lo yudam makamach. But va'ato beisav v'chteveda. You're going to lose the opportunity. And then he adds, at the end, now you're reaching the punchline. Umi yoideya, who knows? Im leis kazoi sigat lamalchus. Who knows if this is not the reason you became a queen? Umi yoideya, David Ezra says, who knows? Mi yoideya, who knows? I don't know. Mi yoideya means, right? Echad mi yoideya, who knows? I don't know. So I want you to go risk your life, sacrifice yourself, because maybe, I would say maybe not, maybe it's not the reason I became a queen. This is, Mordechai was saying something very, very deep, very deep. Esther says, Kol avdei hamelech yoidim. Everybody knows. Mordechai's response is, Mi yoideya, who knows? There's a big difference. Esther speaks in certainty. Everybody knows that if you go into this dictator, to this despot, to this tyrant, who they call my husband, without permission, even his wife, he chops off your head. He did it to my predecessor, Vashti. She didn't show up at the right time. She's dead. I'll show up at the wrong time. I'm also dead. Tells you how much regard she had for her husband. Right? This is, everybody knows this. It's not it's common knowledge. What's Mordechai's response? Umi yodeya. Who knows? Umi yodeya. But the truth is, there was a very profound conversation here. Al pi pnimiyus, there was a very profound conversation here. Esther was Esther was a very brilliant lady. I mean, you see her scheme later. We once spoke about what Esther's plan was. She was a very profound person. But Esther was saying something. Bein Hashuras, Esther was intimating something. What she was intimating was, there's something off here. I'm a good Jewish girl. I'm a regular girl. Valedictorian Beis Yaakov. A ehrlich, a fine Yiddish Freund. Or by Sruchel, or by Sorub, Noisian, or whatever, by Srifka, or whatever. I don't mean to, Shulamis, whatever you want. Where do I come here? Where do I come here to end up in a bedroom, in a palace, with this despot? And now I need to go into him. This whole relationship from the beginning seems so strange and incomprehensible. Why me? What?
Unfair.
Yeah, so unfair, so unjust. And what does Mordechai answer her? Mordechai says to her something very deep, and this is his punchline. After everything's said and done, he says, Umi yodeya im leis kazoi sigat lamalchus. So Chassidus teaches mi yodeya means, it's not, I don't know, I'm flimsy, yeah, maybe, maybe not. You don't send somebody to death based on a mi yodeya, right? Guys, go to Normandy, mi yodeya, maybe we'll win Hitler. It's not how it works. It's not how a commander works. It's not mi yodeya, we know. The worst thing in battle is lack of determination, lack of decisive goals and ends. It's the worst thing. Through the catastrophe of Israel in the Second Lebanon War. When you're decisive and you know your goals and there's a determination, everything changes. The moment you put in a mi yodeya, maybe we're fighting for the right thing, for the wrong thing, you're dead. That was the special advantage of Churchill in the Second World War. He gave Europe a decisive goal. Like, we're going to fight on the beaches, and we're going to fight in the air, and we're going to fight in the water, and we're going to fight on land. We will never surrender. What did it do? It gave Europe the courage to fight the most evil man in the history of humanity, Adolf Hitler. The worst thing you can do to a people or a nation is indecisiveness. And the same is true with your own Yetzer Hara also. The worst thing is indecisiveness. Indecisiveness means I'm not sure. If I'm not sure, then somebody else is going to win. What Mordechai was telling Esther is not I'm not sure. Mi yodeya. There are some things in life that are higher than das. Mi yodeya, who knows? It did not come into the world of das. Your mission in this world is not something that I can explain rationally, based on your yichus, your genetics, your parents, your brothers, your sisters, your nature, your nurture, your mahalach, your chalois, your personality, your character, that Esther Hamalka deserves to be the first lady of the Persian Empire. Like, when you were 6 years old, we always knew you're marrying the king. You know when they tell that to you? When you were 6, right, we knew you're going to be the president of the United States, or at least the vice president. That's not how life works. And all the biographies of Gedolim, already at the age of 4, he knew Tanakh and Mishnayos Baal Peh. At the age of 8, he already finished Yerushalmi. At the age of 12, he knew everything there is to know. There are individuals like that, but somehow it's generic, right? Generic. You can always know the first few chapters of the biography without even reading it. There's a concept, butzin makatfa yediyah. The Gemara says in Brachas, right? Sometimes a child, you see a lot. You look at a child, you say, this guy's going to go very, very far. You can see it. You can see this person at already 13. We know what his career is going to be. We know how much money he's going to have. You could see it sometimes. But some things, it's mi'edeya. It's beyond us. That's called goydel. The connection between me and the goydel is not up das. Why me, not you? That means it's not connected to me. It means it's connected to me in a way that's deeper than das. In other words, it's connected to my essence. It's not filtered through the tzimtzum of das.
Extrapolating that, when people have bad things happen in their life, is that what we see? And they feel they've been the object of Korah.
Yeah.
They feel that the Rand is Korah looking at them. The real answer or non-answer to them is that there is something sorry. That's not Korah. But not the way they think.
Right. We think of Gödel as blind fate, being in the wrong place, in the wrong time. And so the truth is, there's no answer to it. When somebody starts giving reasons, they're off the mark. But not because they had bad fate, but because it's deeper than a why.
Everything like that.
In the mucker. But many things then assume layers and garments of seichel.
Falsely.
Depends how falsely. Sometimes it could... Depends. If the seichel eclipses the ratzon, it's false. If the seichel channels the ratzon through seichel, then it's true. You understand?
Yeah. That's hard.
Huh?
That's not easy.
Yeah. There was a big argument, one example, there was a big argument in the early generations of Chassidus, how the teachings of the Baal Shem Tov should be filtered, should be conveyed. It was the Baal HaTanya versus a lot of his colleagues. Shlomo Kaliner, the Rabbi Avram of Kalis, Rabbi Vayakhel Mezhebush, big people. Their taina was that Chassidus is fire, it's nuclear energy, it's emunah. It's being megalo the neshama. You'll see all the Chassidish forms. We got the neshama of a yid, the kedusha of a yid, the dveikus of a yid, the rotzen of a yid. That's what it is. The Baal HaTanya was extremely philosophical and chochabad, this chochma bina. You see the Maamer explains and explains. You take any shtickle Purim from any Chassidish sefer, it's one paragraph. It says a gevart, and here he has dozens of Maamerim on Purim with long explanations, long biura. So it was a big argument. They said that this is, it's compromising the integrity. It's diluting the energy. Baal HaTanya's taina was, it's true that the nekuda of dveikus is ratzon pashut. The point of seichel, of chachma bin adas, is to become a channel that doesn't obstruct the ratzon, but channels it. So it's not that Chachma, Bina, Das, which are the faculties of Seichel, ought to become the predominant feature. But what happens is a person has a mind, and a person has rationality. If the Ratzon is not channeled through them, so then the Ratzon could remain hidden in the core, and in a conscious way, a person becomes unaware of it. The point is that the Seichel should become a filter that doesn't obstruct and eclipse the deep emunah, mesiras nefesh, and ratzon of a Jew. They should flow through each other. It should become a seamless whole. So that's the nekuda. So now when Esther says, everybody knows, Mordechai, I know everybody knows, but I'm telling you, your position in this Malchus is a place that's is Lamayla min Adas. And therefore, with Das, you're not going to reach this place. It's a place that's Lamayla min Adas. And this inspired Esther to go on Mesiras Nefesh beyond Das. This inspired Esther more than anything else. She heard the Mi'adeya. To access your Mi'adeya, you have to be ready to go to a place that's higher than Das. And that's not easy. It's a big risk. This inspired, this triggered, it aroused in Esther the conviction. And the next scene, she right away tells Mordechai, go gather the Jews, and I'm going to the Melech v'chasher avadati. And she goes. So now when you have to name Purim, Chazal didn't, we look at Purim, we say a random name. Purim means randomness, goyrel. It's a random name. No, looks like a random name. It's not a random name. This is the essence of the story. As we'll soon see, Haman knew this too. Haman also came to a few shiurim and looked at the Torah. And Torah, I don't know when, where, what. But apparently Haman is considered in high regard by the Chachmei Anister in terms of some spiritual intelligence that he had. His hatred to Jews was a deep, deep hatred, recognizing something about the Jewish people that a lot of others didn't.
Is Esther's responsibility of Adati, is that a recognition of a Ratzon Pashat, or is she...
Yeah.
Because Aveda would mean that she's saying whatever it is.
Right.
If I'm lost, I'm lost. So that means that she is acknowledging the truth of the girl.
Right. Esther didn't say, I'm going to go in, and do you know what type of Olam Haba I'm going to get? And you know what type of schar I'm going to get? And do you know that forever, 2,600 years later, they're going to sit in Monsey early in the morning and speak about Esther? And the whole Megillah will be named for me, Megillah Esther. When Esther saw those words, Kasher avadati, there was nothing. Just like when Rus told Naomi, where you go, I go, where you sleep, I sleep. She didn't know that 3,000 years later, people, the night of Shavuos, or the day of Shavuos, will talk about Rus and extol her. She didn't know that. We know it, not she. She didn't know that Mashiach is going to come from her, and her great-grandson is going to be David HaMelech. She didn't know that. She was a Moabite convert who said, where you go, I go, your people are my people, your God is my God. That's it.
It doesn't imply that there's Yish, and therefore her seichel is saying she's walking away from it.
I don't think Yiyush. Aveda could be Yiyush. But the Gemara already says, Yiyush shaloi midas.
That's what I'm asking.
Oh.
Sublimation.
Oh, so there's a vote. Yeah. There's a vote from the Rishonah. Yiyush shaloi midas. Whenever there's Yiyush in life, it's because there's no das. But he means lamata metam v'das. Right. No. Of course not. Not only she didn't give up, she planned methodically what she's going to do. Yeah.
So she was saying, she was throwing her girl in.
She was, yeah. I'm not going to figure this out rationally. I'm not going to figure this out. I'm not going to sit here and become a rationalist and figure out, calculate with calculation. She planned it.
So she went up.
She went up, completely up. Yeah. But she planned it methodically. She invited him to a party. Somebody had to arrange a party. That means she had to call the caterer. She had to call the florist. She had to call the chef. There was a menu. At the party, she invited him to another party. This wasn't Esther just becoming a frivolous person. I'll die. She wasn't going on a suicide mission.
This really empowered her.
Atazai. It empowered her. It empowered her with something much deeper than anything she could imagine until now. It got her in touch with a place in her that is beyond Das. A much deeper place in her. A place of infinity. A place where her Ratzon is now connected to the source of all the Ritzonos.
It's exactly like the Alter Rebbe, because now she started to work al Piseichel.
Always. Yeah.
She started the Ratzon and used Seichel to channel.
Yes. That's the whole point. That the Seichel becomes a channel for the Ratzon, rather than an obstruction. So you have, every Jew has a Munah, every Jew has Mesiras Nefesh, every Jew has a Ratzon. But very often there's a detachment. The Ratzon Parshat is somewhere in the deep, deep, deep cellars of the unconscious, the super-rational conscious. which is still amazing. It's incredible, and it will come out. Sometimes it comes out in the negative, in the void, in the desperation, right? In the atheism. Sometimes it comes out in the positive at certain special moments in history that we see in Jewish history. Glorious, glorious moments, unparalleled in terms of conviction and dedication to Mesiras Nefesh. And sometimes a Jew may even be living a Jewish life, but on a conscious level, there's very little connection between the conscious life and this deep connection. Why? Because there's like two worlds. There's my Ratzon Pasha that I don't even know about, and then there's me. I know who I am. That's why the Balatanya was so sensitive. There was also another big issue, and he felt that in his generation there were many great tzaddikim, really big tzaddikim. Like when you saw Rabbi Yitzchak of Barditchev daven, you had to be moved, unless you were insane or mamish stuffed, or traumatized from here to China. You had to be moved. You were moved. You had a generation of Kedoshei Elyon. He knew that may not last forever, right? So even though you have many good Jews, you may not have tzaddikim of that caliber. And if you don't have the ability to be able to find this through your own means and with your own identity, and be able to really appreciate this in your own personality and character, a lot of that flame, a lot of that light may come close to being extinguished. Because they felt there's no need to educate people how to process this on their own, using their minds. The best thing is a person should connect to a tzaddik, and the tzaddik will be a fireball of inspiration. And that will trigger your own emunah. You'll see it in him, and it, kamayim apanul will trigger in you. And why the need to develop people and with this sense of independence and creativity and use your mind and it could get very philosophical and the energy can get diluted. This was a serious argument. It was not a small argument. But one of the issues was, how long is that going to last? So in our context, what does this mean? That the Ratzon Parsha, the Geirel, should be able to be accessed and flow through the vehicles of a person's personality, even the more external ones. And Seichel is one of the most powerful vehicles, because that's how we process life. We're supposed to process life that way. We're not supposed to be zombies. We use our minds. And that's why there could be a lot of cynicism. Cynicism comes from the fact when your Seichel is detached from your core. And it's very painful. When your Seichel is detached from your core. Like in a deep place, you're connected, but rationally, it's all a joke. So Purim is like Yom Kippur is like Purim. Yom Kippur is also Shnei Geirolos, the two goats. You look at the two goats. Imagine two people; they're identical. One goat ends up in Azazel, one goat ends up in Kodesh HaKadosh. You have two brothers in the same family. The Sfas Emes writes in Yuma, how do you get two twins that are identical in height and value and looks? He says it has to be twins. Twins could be identical. Now it's a mitzvah in Amuvcha, but the evidence is not ma'akev. So you have twins, you have two siblings, they're identical. Height, money, and looks. Spiritual too. Their parents invested the same money in both of them. They went to the same system. They went through the same system. They're identical. One ends up in the Kodesh HaKadoshim, and one ends up on a cliff. So often we'll say, it's because the yeshiva, it's because the mother, it's because the father, it's because the uncle, it's because this happened, that happened. Right? We give rational reasons. And now sometimes there are things you have to look at, rectify. But there's also a concept of Geirel. The concept of Geirel means people have different missions in the world. You don't always know. We sometimes look at certain children of ours, they go in different ways, and parents do a shamnu for the next 40 years with al-chait, and what did I do wrong, etc., etc. And of course, you have to repair what you did wrong and do tshuva and ask forgiveness and try to be a better person and closer to your child. But you also have to remember that there's often an element of Geirel. Geirel means different souls have different shlichus in the world. And it's a very humbling thought. It's a very humbling thought, because it's a place of mi ideya. And the way to access it is not by becoming an expert. It's by opening yourself up to that in yourself and in the other person. And when a person can embrace that, it empowers them. Because you realize that this is connected to your core. Even if rationally I never saw it coming. A lot of curveballs in life, like a good curveball in sports, you didn't see it coming. So you didn't see it coming only because your mind is not a vessel for that level of energy. But the essence is connected to that. Your essence is connected to that. What you're calling a curveball, or what we call here a goyrel, doesn't mean it's random. It means it's the deepest part of you.
Chosen.
It's chosen. And when you choose it, it becomes your most real choice. Because it's stemming from you yourself. It becomes your deepest choice. Okay. Huh?
One of the deepest moments I had in my own life about appreciating Torah. Twin brothers who are younger than me. One is gone. They're about 7 years younger than me. He died of lung cancer. He was 20. He was diagnosed at 28. He was a medical resident at Columbia. He died when he was 32, 4 years later. He was a deep soul. He studied a lot of medical ethics and before this he went to Eretz Yisrael to start the to help her. He knew all the people. He studied all the people. He was a deep medical ethics person. He had expertise in it. He died of lung cancer. The day we came to Sloan Kettering, my parents didn't even know yet. I came with his twin, my twin Mayor, who's still with us. I came with Mayor.
Younger?
Mayor's older. Mayor's the older twin. They were identical twins. Mayor was the older. And I came with Mayor and Joseph. Joseph's daughter is deceased. To Sloan Kettering. To register. Mayor and Joseph. I came to Sloan Kettering. We were going to have him treated at Sloan Kettering, planning a surgery. My parents didn't even know yet. We hadn't even told them. We came to Sloan Kettering. We found out I've had connections to find out who was what. We came into the first thing he says, first thing you come here, you get a card with a unit number, that's going to be for all your time to Sloan Kettering, that's going to be your number. We come to the registrar, and I walked up with my brother Mayor and Joseph to this registrar. She told me she's sitting there all day giving out unit numbers. She looked at us with a bored look. She's doing this all day. She looked at the two of them with a bored look, and she says, okay, which one's the patient? And it was a moment that I can't even describe what I thought about that moment. I got to Se'irim and Yom Kippur and Gorel, and he ended up dying of his disease 4 years later. It was a difficult 4 years, you can imagine. And his older brother, Mayor, was with us, is successful in real estate, whatever. That's when I understood what Gorel had done.
Which one is the patient, huh?
Right. That's what but with the most bored look on her face, because she's processing cards. She looks at the two and they're just
been doing this for 20 years.
Okay, which one's the patient?
Yeah.
It was just a powerful.
Almost like a gyro, huh?
Yeah, it was just.
Huh?
How do you answer that?
Right, it was just.
You don't even know the answer.
But it was
Seems
just.
like this is the patient now. Who knows?
But that's when I first understood the whole concept of Gorel and Yom Kippur and Purim. The Rav has the whole thing. I'll send it to you. I'll find it. Where he says that because the Gemara's Megillah says there's two psukim for Chaim and Lemekos Lishnos Vayom. One is Elakaya Kriyoma, and one is I forgot. He says one is unbelievable Simcha, and one is the most desolate. What Esther was saying on the way to Chashverosh Elakaya Kriyoma. He says because both aspects of Purim. So one he says we commemorate with Tanis Esther, which is the Gorel, the sobriety, the whole randomness. He says the whole Megillah is Gorel, it's random. Achashverosh, Mordechai heard the whole thing. It's Esther's answer, but the whole thing is written. But we couldn't come. There was no way in one holiday to put those two motifs together. So we had to separate them. That's why he said you have to wait till after you finish the Megillah to eat to break your fast, because it's all one kiyam of Torah.
Wow.
That's chelik of Purim. I'll find you. I'll send you.
How old was your brother when he passed away?
He was 32 when he passed away. He was 28 when he was diagnosed.
He was married?
He was single. He was seeing someone. She, and to her regret, she stuck with him through the whole thing.
Really?
Yeah. A son? A brother.
Thank you for sharing. Shalom Aleichem. Welcome. Bruchim Abayim. How are you? Thank you for joining us. Thank you for joining us. Which patient? Which one is the patient? Ach mekol makom hayatali ba'ofen hatshuva. Nonetheless, even though Yom Kippur as he put it in the line earlier, is tali b'bchinis ratzon pashat mekayr kol ha'ritzonos. The idea of the geirel is that you're connecting, you're suspending the decision, you're removing the decision from your own rational frame of mind, and you're conferring it on the geirel. So on one level, it looks like it's just random, who cares? But on another level, we explained, this represents that you're attributing, you're connecting the decision to what's called ratzon pashut, the will of a person, and not just the will that's divested of any layer, which is mekar kol ha'ritzonos, as the source of all the wills. The deepest level of will, which is the source of all the other ritzonos, that really it boils down to the deepest ratzon. And that's true in life. Also we see that the deeper you go into a person's essence, the less diversity and the more the will becomes unified. In other words, if I ask you, what do you want in life? Well, a person wants a lot of things, right? What do you really want in life? Well, it's a little less. What do you really want? And according to the Balatanya, it's going to come down to a ratzon pashut, a deep ratzon mekar kol ha'ritzonos. Then there's the ratzon of, this is true of every creature. And then there's the uniqueness of the ratzon of a Jew. Like we said yesterday, a Yid nicht will or nicht can sein anifrit von Elokus. He once said a Jew, he can't, nor does he want to be separated from truth, from godliness. So that's called makir kol ha'ritzonos, or raiva de chol raiva. So that's what the geidel represents, that I'm suspending, I'm being toila, the decision on the ratzon pashut, which, yes, you could call it random, but it's anything but random. It's actually deeper rooted in the person than any rational explanation. Nonetheless, there's a difference between Yom Kippur and Purim. As he said, Yom Kippurim is like Purim. Because by Yom Kippur, it depended on the manner of tshuva. Yom Kippur atones through tshuva. It's true in Gemara Maseches Shvuos, there's a machlokes between the Chaim and Rabbi, if Itzumay Shal Yom Mechaper, if the day itself atones with tshuva, without tshuva, or you need tshuva. The Rambam paskins, Itzumay Shal Yom Mechaper l'shavim, that the day of Yom Kippur atones, the Etzem day, it atones for the person who does tshuva. So Yom Kippur, the highlight is tshuva. Hagam tshuva, hibchenes tshuva law, and even though the tshuva we're talking about is called tshuva law, which means a deeper level of tshuva, hibchenes mesiris nefesh, which is tshuva, a complete oneness, a complete dedication. The tshuva of mesiris nefesh, where there's complete vayikach, you have tshuva, a lower level of tshuva, which is remorse. I did something wrong and I apologize, which is basic and wonderful and extraordinary. That's called tshuva tata. A person made a mistake and you apologize. Charat alavar, kabbalah lahaba. You regret the past, you make a resolution for the future. That's tshuva tata. Tshuva ilah means revealing the part of the person that never went astray, the part of the person that was never perverted, the part of the person that never sinned, the complete vayikach, the complete oneness that we always had, that you always had at your core. That's called tshuva ilah. That's why he says v'hibchinas mesiris nefesh. It's the level, the reality of mesiris nefesh we've been talking about earlier in the beginning of Perek Ches. That's the tshuva of Yom Kippur. Mikol makayim im einay oisa tshuva. This tshuva is with a simcha. This tshuva is with a sense of exaltedness and pride and joy and dignity, because the person reveals a part that was never broken, a part that was always wholesome, that no sin and no mistake and no error can destroy. All a person's mistakes, all a person's sins can only affect a certain dimension of the self. But there's a certain core nakuda that remains absolutely whole and confident and divine under all circumstances. It could never ever be affected. That's called the tshuva ilah. Tshuva ilah is always with a simcha. And that's generally the tshuva of Yom Kippur. The tshuva of Yom Kippur is this type of tshuva. So he says that's true. Nonetheless, still Yom Kippur needs this movement, this notion, this experience of tshuva. Tshuva kiyadua, as it's known. B'chinas Purim, yesh b'yistin ma'ila ma she'en b'Yom Kippur. Purim has something that even Yom Kippur doesn't have. And that's why we call it Yom HaKippurim, which means it's like Purim, which sounds like, which intimates that Purim is higher. Yom HaKippurim is like Purim. It's similar to Purim, but it's still not like Purim. What's the mile of Purim? V'inyan mesidus nefesh lehem shahoya l'mayla minat ta'am v'hadas l'gamri. Commotion is boyalael. This is what we said before, that the whole year, from after the Gzeira of Haman, which came out in Nisan, for the next 11 months, till Yud Gimel Adar, the Jewish people, as he said, every single Jew stood with Mesiras Nefesh, with complete dedication, and nobody decided. There were 11 months. It's a long time, and a time when unfortunately, there was a Gzeira that every person could kill any Jew they want, a royal decree. As I explained earlier, that even after everything was reversed, this edict was never reversed. Extremely, it was there. And the fight of the Jewish people on Yud Gimel Adar, Yud Aleph Adar in Shushan was Maamer self-defense. It was completely self-defense. And the expression of the Gemara, Habala Harga, Chashkem Laharga. If they would have, as he said before in the beginning of Ois Ches, if somebody would have said, I don't want to be Jewish, he could have saved his life. He said, nobody had even a machshavas chutz chas v'shalom. A machshava, a whole year, to do this. This Mesiras Nefesh was l'mayla min atam v'das l'gamri. Completely transcendent of tam and das. Commotion is boil la'el. Dahainu, what does this mean? Not Mesiras Nefesh, where I want to preserve myself, a greater self, or a reward, or a higher self, or a spiritual self, or eternal life. Dahainu beheder shum chayfetz v'rotzen chuli bilti l'Hashem levad. Without any objective, any desire, any will, any purpose, any self-gain, even the greatest spiritual gain, bilti l'Hashem levad, besides because of their complete oneness with Hashem, just for Hashem himself. Commotion is boilel, as explained earlier, the two types of Mesiras Nefesh. Mesiras Nefesh, what we call Mesiras Nefesh, Mesiras Haguf, Mesiras Chaim, and the ultimate Mesiras Nefesh. V'zeu, Tshuva Ilah. Yeah, it's brought in Svarim, in Zohar, and in Svarim of Musar, and in Kabbalah, Chassidus, Hashkafa, Rishas Chachma, many Svarim. There's two states of Tshuva. There's something called Tshuva Tata. In Aramaic, Tata means lower. Like Tata is like... And Ilah in Aramaic is higher, like Elyon, right? Elyon and Tachten in Aramaic is called Ilah and Tata. So there's Tshuva Tata, which means a lower level of Tshuva. When we say lower, it doesn't mean it's a low level. It's amazing. It just means relative, The first floor of the house is a wonderful floor. There's also a second floor. There's the roof. So there's Tshuva Tata and there's Tshuva Ilah. So generally, the Avodah of Yom Kippur is connected to Tshuva Ilah, which is a much deeper level of tshuva.
But Purim's even more?
That's what he's saying. Purim is even more. Even greater, yeah. What's the difference? So this state of the Mesiras Nefesh that came out in Purim, you didn't have any other day, not even Yom Kippur. Yom Kippur is tshuva, which is unbelievable tshuva, because it's tshuva ilah, which is the concept of Mesiras Nefesh. But because of this experience that happened on Purim, it infused in the days of Purim something that no other day has. Not even Yom Kippur. So now you'll ask a question, how could you compare the two? If you ask a regular Jew who knows about the Jewish calendar, which is the most serious day of the year, he'll tell you Yom Kippur. If you ask him which is the most, frivolous, fun, light day of the year, it's Purim. Purim is always seen as, it's a Purim dik, yeah. It's a Purim dik. The ambitions go off, teenagers are smoking everywhere, stopping cars, a gate, trinkt, Purim is seen as, so to speak, the one day that religion says, okay, you need to get loose. We're giving you one day. But the truth is, this is very, very superficial. idea of Purim. It's the exact opposite. From a Chitzoniistic point of view, Purim have this type of reputation. Al pi pnimius, it's the opposite.
If the Torah was for the Gimel, then why is all this done on his knowledge?
Okay, excellent question. The Girdle was for Yud Gimel. Why is a celebration Yud Dalet? So the Megillah explains. On Yud Gimel, the Jews had to fight for self-defense. This was the day of extermination, Rachmana litzlan. So when they're fighting, they couldn't rest. You can't celebrate in war. On Yud Dalet, they were done. There was one day of self-defense, Yud Gimel. Yud Dalet says, Nachu b'hem Yehudim me'aveim. They relaxed. They could celebrate. In Shushan, the battle was waged also the next day. So they relaxed. They celebrated on Shushan Purim, which is Tesvav. And from here is the distinction of the two Purims. In all the regions of Achashverosh, in all the regions they celebrated. In the other regions of his empire, they celebrated Yud Dalet. In Shushan, the capital, they celebrated Tesvav. Because Yud Dalet, there was still a battle. So Mordechai and Esther themselves, and the Jews of Shushan, who were obviously in the vortex of the storm, the capital of the empire, they celebrated Tesvav. When they made the Takana of Purim for Klal Yisrael, which took some time, right? The Megillah had to be written. The Gemara says in Megillah Daf Zayin, it wasn't so pashut. The Chachamim did not want a holiday of Purim. It wasn't simple. Sholchalam Esther l'Chachamim. The Gemara says that Esther sent a message to the Chachamim, Kav'uni l'doiros. Make Purim into a holiday for generations. And you know what they answered? They said this will increase anti-Semitism. It's not good for us. So Esther said, you got it wrong. Everybody knows the story. At least let the Jews know the story. All their books, all their newspapers have the story. They know the truth. At least Jews should know the truth. It wasn't so pashut. And then there was a whole other request, besides it being a Yom Tov, making the Megillah part of the Kisvei HaKodesh, to write down the story becoming part of the Tanakh. That also wasn't a simple feat. They didn't want to do that either. It's time to add a new sefer to Tanakh, to Ksuvim. And Mordechai and Esther proved from Chumash that there's room for it. It was a debatable issue. So then when they made the Yom Tov, they expanded the Shushan Purim to all cities that had, Shushan had a wall, a fortress, to all cities that had a fortress, which was similar to Shushan, but interestingly from the days of Yeshua ben Nun. The reason for that is very fascinating. Litain Kovid L'Eretz Yisrael. Eretz Yisrael then was desolate, it was destroyed. The Jews were in Babylonia or Persia, that's where Purim happened. It was 70 years after the Churban. In order to honor Eretz Yisrael, even though at that time there was nothing in Eretz Yisrael, it was barren, it was destroyed, it was desolate, most Jews were gone. In order to give honor to Eretz Yisrael, when they made the Takana of Shushan Purim, they didn't say any city that has a wall like Shushan. Any city that had a wall from the days of Yeshua ben Nun, that became the paradigm to be able to go into Shushan Purim. Even though today it didn't have, even though at that time the wall was destroyed. In other words, they were giving honor to the history and the glorious past of Eretz Yisrael, which itself is a fascinating thing. It's not for now. Why over there did they decide to give honor to Eretz Yisrael? The whole action happened in Persia, but they made sure to give honor to Eretz Yisrael. So I'll call upon them. So superficially one could think Yom Kippur is the serious day of Judaism, and Purim is the lightheaded day. It's the lightheaded day. But Oymeka Inyan is the opposite. Not that Yom Kippur is a lightheaded day. Yom Kippur is a serious day. But Purim has a depth to it, an amkus to it, that in a particular sense is deeper than Yom Kippur. What's the Havana? So he says, V'zeu al kein karolei amamei Purim, v'hev yemei mishta v'simcha. Unlike Yom Kippur, which you don't feast, it's not a celebration, a holiday of feasting. Purim was made yemei mishta v'simcha. Shubchinas is galus, oiris bekelim dafka. The idea of yemei mishta v'simcha represents that there's a revelation of oiris, of lights, in kelim, in vessels. Ki aidei hasimcha hu b'chinas gilu ya'or. because the Simcha represents that the Oir, the light of Purim, could be enclosed within the realm of a person's vessels. Yom Kippur is a day of absolute transcendence, like it says in Torah, Doimen Kimalachim, the Jews are like angels. You dress like an angel, we don't eat, you don't drink. There are people, there's a minig that's brought in Poskim of people who would stand the whole Yom Kippur. Because the Malachim HaOimim, they wouldn't sit Yom Kippur, they wouldn't get into a bed Yom Kippur, they wouldn't even sit down on a tree Yom Kippur. But even according to the halacha, where you could sit on Yom Kippur or sleep, but the dressing and the fasting, no eating and no drinking and no other, it's basically a day of transcendence, so to speak. A Jew segregates himself from the world and indulges himself for 24 hours in a cocoon of kedusha, of holiness. It says, Doimen Kamalachim, they're like angels. They're like angels. And as Yom Kippur continues, that feeling, that sense continues until the peak of Ne'ilah at the end of Yom Kippur, Hashem Hu Elokim. So that's the experience of Yom Kippur. And in that state of mind, it's the longest day in terms of davening. People are in Shul all day, in the morning and in the afternoon and in the evening and the night before, and all of the viduyim. Yom Kippur is a day unto itself. So besides it not being a day of work like Shabbos and Yom Tov, within that itself, there's no relationship to the God, very little. There is, obviously, we live in the world, but there's minimal relationship to the material aspects of the world, pursuing them, nurturing them, and taking care of them. Purim is the exact opposite. Purim is Yemei Mishta and Yemei Simcha, and you see that the mitzvahs of Purim revolve around food and around the physical. Even Matanas Lav Yoinim, you're giving money to the poor to be able to buy their food or whatever they want. Mishloach Manas, one day a year, there's a mitzvah to exchange gifts, and not gifts of words or wisdom or inspiration or anecdotes or hisairas. No, Mishloach Manas. It's about giving food. And then there's the third mitzvah, which is Sudas Purim. Mishta v'simchi. You should have to have a meal, have to have a feast. And on this the Gemara says in Megillah, Chayev Inish, Amar Rava, Chayev Inish l'psuma b'Purim. To drink and drink extensively. This is unique to Purim. There's the fourth mitzvah of Purim, which is reading the Megillah, which is reading the story of Purim. This is like, so the trend here, the focus is mamish the antithesis of Yom Kippur. Yom Kippur is a day in heaven, so to speak. Doimen Kamalachim. And Purim is a day of hislapshus. That's what he says. Oir is bekalim. Oir is bekalim is an expression that the oir comes into the kalim. Kalim means into the vessels. Vessels means into the reality of a person's life as he is, and into the reality of the world as is. It's not the oir transcends upward, but on the contrary, it's revealed, it's manifested within the vessels. When the Navi describes the future, the Lashon in Yirmiyahu, the end of Yirmiyahu is B'bchiyavayu. They're going to come with tears. What's pshat? When does a person start crying? Overwhelmed. You have an emotion. The way he puts it, the oir cannot come into a keli. That's what causes weeping. A person starts crying. There's an intense emotion, and there's no kalim that contain it in an easy way. It's an overwhelming. It's so intense. So a person bursts out in tears. Tears represents an emotion that is deeper in the person, and it's not restricted. He hasn't yet carved out a container for this emotion, so the person bursts out in tears. It expresses an intense oir that transcends a keli. That's why one person can hear something, another person hears the same story. One person reacts in one way, the other person bursts out crying. Yeah. So Pchi is a representation of a certain intensity of an oir that I have not yet carved out a place where it sits in me. There's no filing cabinet for it. That's what Pchi is. That's why, person in touch with their emotions cries. You hear something and almost spontaneously you start crying. So, La'asid Lavid is going to be such a gilui. Why are they going to be crying? He says, they're going to be crying. Crying is not always sadness. Sometimes there's such an oir, and there's no keli for it, you start crying. It could be even a very positive thing. That's why Yirmiyah says, "B'bchiyavoy," they're going to come crying. It says in Zohar that where Rabbi Akiva was learning Shir Hashirim, he would cry. What's there to cry in Shir Hashirim? Zolgoen of Demoyas. There's different types of tears. It was Demoyas, could be Demoyas of tremendous ecstasy. Tremendous ecstasy. You start crying from distractions, from emotion, not because of something negative. It's actually something extremely positive, but it's higher than your kalim. The Chiddush shir is Purim. Aval b'Purim shazochu l'mayli yisera v'b'chinas mesidus nefesh ha'amiti haniske la'el. Purim represents what came out was the ultimate truest mesidus nefesh, the one that we described before, real mesidus nefesh. Liyos dvukim ba'atzmus ein seif. What came out was the dvekus, the intimacy, the oneness with the essence of ein seif, the core atzmos. Sheyuchal lishkin b'kli gam b'meshel ha'yachal ha'kli lisber ha'oid al pi ha'ishtalshelus me'achar shulamayla harbi min ha'ishtalshelus. This can come into a keli. Even normally, a keli would not be able to contain the oid, because the oid is what's called l'mayla min ha'ishtalshelus, and the keli is ishtalshelus. L'mayla min ha'ishtalshelus means it's beyond the evolution of the world, so there's no keli for it. Like we learned in the previous Maamer, when a teacher teaches, you always have to bring it into the keli. If not, it overwhelms people. You have to explain it in a way that can be contained by the recipient. The whole ishtalshelus is basically how Hashem restricts his oir to be able to come into the keli. What's into the keli? Every creature has its own keli, its own capacity, its own chemistry. You can't take more than you can take. If not, the keli bursts, the keli gets overwhelmed. So normally the keli can only take the light that relates to the keli. You can only fill up this cup with amount of water, measurement of water that suits the keli. You put the keli in a place where there's a huge current of water, there's no keli left. The keli gets destroyed. That's the b'chiyah vayu, because it's tremendous gilui, and that is a chiddush of Purim. The chiddush of Purim is, it's oiris b'kelim. That which l'chayr is completely beyond the shtalshalus, it could come into the keli. Me'achar shulamayla harbi min ha'ishtalshalus.
The keli expands himself, or just the iris can fit.
In this type of mesidus nefesh, the keli is not a contradiction to the oir. In this type of mesidus nefesh, where there's no ego, there's no I separate, where there's complete vayikach and atzmos oir in soif, so the keli is not a stida to the oir. The two could be synchronized fully. We'll see. Because it's l'mayla harbe min ha'ishtalshelus. U'lekachim nekroim yimei mishta v'simcha. Ki nichnas yayin yoytze hasoid. The Gemara says when wine comes in, the secret comes out. What's pshat it comes out? Dafke, b'bchinas ha'gilui b'kelim dafke. The soy doesn't have to remain a secret. Nichnas yayin yoytze doesn't only mean you drink, secrets come out. The Gemara says in Eruvin, yayin is the gematria of 70. And Soid is the gematria of 70. Yud Nun is 70. Soid is 66 and 4 is 70. Because wine comes in and secrets come out. When people are inebriated, they're intoxicated, they'll tell you things they usually don't say, right? You see people when they drink a little bit, or they drink, especially they drink a lot. Yeah, they say, I love you. They'll never tell you a whole year that they love you. They'll hug you. They'll tell you things. They're more, I guess, smart. Whatever it is. Or sometimes they'll reveal things that you wouldn't hear. Yeah, that's what you see. That's what the Gemara means. When people drink, they're a little tipsy, maybe it takes over the edge, a little less self-conscious. We're not talking here about the disease of alcoholism. You have to be careful not to confuse the two. But the concept is, so he says here, but it's deeper. Pshat Yatzasaid means something much deeper. There's certain things in life that are secrets. Be'etzem secrets. Even when they come out, they're secrets. They can't come out. They're soidas. The chiddush of Purim is that the soid could come out. In other words, it could come into the kelim. That which is essentially a soid, it's essentially a secret. That's how he teaches. Not the secrets about my personal life that I'm going to tell you on Purim if I'm enough drunk. There's something much deeper. That you could do any day. Nichnas Zayin Yatza soid is that which is be'etzem an inyan of soid. It's an inyan of a secret. It's an intimate secret. It can't come out. It doesn't belong in the world of outside. It can't be yoitze. That's the chiddush, that there should be a gili b'kelim. V'ubchinas ave b'tanugim shalifnei hatzilus. This is the love of the light that transcends even the world of Atzilus. Neshabatzilus eina kli soivalta. In Atzilus taka, the keli would not be soival such an ava. It wouldn't be able to contain it. It would need a restriction. This is something that is completely beyond, and because it's completely beyond, it can go into a lower place. Because it's a deeper oir, it could come down into a keli, which a lower oir would not be able to come into the keli unless it's seriously restricted. V'dal v'dai l'mevin, this will be enough to he who understands.
Does sod also mean foundation?
That's yisoid with a yud. This is soid, a secret. In other words, that which is completely aloof, sublime. A secret here in the sense is not like a secret. It's confidential, it's like private, but a side means something that's be'etzem a secret. It's a secret even from you. Yeah, the essence. Even for you it's a secret. There are sides that even from me they're secrets. I don't have access to them, I don't know them. It's beyond, that's what we're talking about, the goyrel, the Mesiris Nefesh, the beyond Tam V'das, etc. In order to clarify this a little bit, it's a very deep concept here. Maybe one way to convey it, the nekuda that he's saying here, a little bit kitzer, is I'll read to you a Mishnah. It might sound a little confusing, but if you'll stay tuned, you'll understand it. There's a Mishnah, Maseches Kelim. Masechta Kelim is longest Masechtas in Shas, in Mishnayos, 30 chapters, and it deals with the vessels, types of vessels, Kelim, utensils, that are susceptible to tumah, and how the halachas of tumah relate, tumah and tara, pure and impure, relate to these kelim. Now, Mishnayos is generally a work of halacha. Rarely are you going to have references to things outside of halacha. I mean, once in a while you'll have a little story, which usually leads to halacha, like in the first Mishnah of the whole Shas, Maseches Brachos, there's the story of the children of Ram Gamliel coming back from a chasana, and they told me they didn't read Kriya Shema yet. So he told them what to do. So that's what you'll have in Mishnah. In Kelim Perek Yud Zayin, Mishnah Yudalid, there's a strange Mishnah. Why do I say strange? The Mishnah makes sense, but the Mefarshim struggle how this Mishnah comes into Mishnayos. It says like this: V'yesh b'beshen nivre b'yoyim harishon tumah, b'sheni ein by tumah, b'shlishi yesh by tumah, b'revi b'chamishi ein b'em tumah. Chutz meknaf ha'oiz u'beitzas namis ha'metzupa. V'chol shenivre b'yom ha'shishi tameh. The Mishnah basically goes through the 6 days of creation, from Sunday through Friday. And it says, there were things created on Sunday that if you make a utensil from it, it's susceptible to tumah. Why? What was created on the first day? Bereshis bara l'kimus hashamayim v'sa'aretz. If you take earth, and you turn it into pottery, it's called clay cheres, earthenware vessels, it's susceptible to tumah. If it's in a house, and somebody chas v'shalom passes away in the house, the clay cheres is tameh. Or if a sheretz, a dead rodent that's tameh, falls into the cavity, goes into the space, the ear space of the clay cheres, it's tameh. So that means that which was created on Sunday is susceptible to tumah. If you make a keli out of it, it's susceptible to tumah. Then the Mishnah is, b'sheni ein by tumah. From that which was created on Monday, you'll never be able to make something that's mekabel tumah. B'sheni ein by tumah. Why? What was created on Sheni? Rakia, the firmament, the heavens. Right? That's what happened on Sheni. From the Rakia, from the firmament, you're not making a vessel, and it's not mekabel tumah. B'shlishi, from what was created on Tuesday, you could make things that are mekabel tumah. What was created on Tuesday? All the trees, all vegetation, all produce, which means you could make from it clay eights, wooden vessels. And clay eights, if you have a wooden bowl, a wooden cup, it's mekabel tumah, it's susceptible to tumah. Classic tumah, biblical tumah. That's Tuesday. Revi, no. What happened, Revi? Sun, moon, galaxies. How are they going to be mekabel tumah? Well, are you going to make a keli out of the moon? Ma? Well, they're landing on the moon now. Israel is landing on the moon. Shatayva motzlachas. It's not mekabel tumah. Chamishi, I'm going to skip for a moment. You'll soon see what. And then he says, Shishi, again, is Makabal Tumah. What was created on Shishi? All the chayas, all the animals, all the mammals, all the rodents. Yeah. A person, that Makabal Tumah. Person is Makabal Tumah. And if you make a keli from their bones or from their hide, right? A keli from leather, for example. Clothes of leather, a keli from leather. Just one example. It's Makabal Tumah. So we have here, Azai, Sunday yes, Monday no, Tuesday yes, Wednesday no, Friday yes. What's with Thursday? So he says Thursday, b'chamishi, ein bem tumah. Wednesday no, Friday yes. He says Tuesday ein bem tumah, but there's an exception on Tuesday. Thursday. Tuesday is yes tumah. Wednesday is no tumah. He says Thursday weiter no tumah. Chutz miknaf ha'ois ubeitzas namis hametzupa. Thursday is the day of fish and birds. Clay dog, kalim that are made from dagim are not makabel tumah. Even if you take the skin of a fish, you turn it into kez, not makabel tumah. Okay, but there's a knaf ha'ois ubeitzas namis hametzupa. Namis is an ostrich. You ever saw the eggs of an ostrich? They're could be like a basketball and pretty strong. That beitza, if you take that beitza and it's mitzupa, it's plated. Yeah, it's called basayana. So what happens is, because the egg is so strong, so it was used as a keli. Because it's usually an egg, it's not going to last. You give it a little push, it's over. But here, the Rabbanon said that the beitza of an ostrich, an egg of an ostrich, if it's plated, it's makabel tumah. Regular eggs, even if you plate them, even if you decorate them, it's not makabel tumah because it's not going to last. But an ostrich's egg, if it's plated, the rabbi said the makabel tumah. Another thing is called knaf ha'azniya. Knaf ha'azniya is a bird of azniya is the bird of a what?
Hummingbird? A raven? A crow?
A crow, I believe. Yeah. A raven. Knaf ha'azniya. It's a very powerful wing. It's a very powerful wing. Azniya. Ayin Zayin Nun Yud Hey. So the bird of an azniya, it's a very powerful wing. So people, again, would make kalim from it. So even though biblically, when you make a keli from a bird or a fish, it's not makabel tumah because it's such a powerful keli and people would use it, so the rabbis were afraid you can exchange it with a regular keli, and therefore they were geyser tumah on this. So what's the conclusion of this Mishnah? Sunday, yes tumah. Monday, no tumah. Tuesday, yes tumah. Wednesday, no tumah. Friday, yes tumah. Thursday, no tumah, with two exceptions. The wing of an azniya bird with a rabbanon were geyser tumah, and the keli that you make from the plated egg of an ostrich. That's the end of the Mishnah. What is the Mishnah trying to do here? What are you mixing in creation there? It's very strange. Mishnah is usually this is. You could say everything could be clear. You could say earth is makabel tumah. We already learned that. What's pushing the Mishnah to associate this with different days of creation? There's something. So if it was a sefer, a stam of gedanken and ashkafa, mela, but it's a sefer of halacha. That's what Mishnah says. What's the Mishnah trying to say? So some say it's a simon. It's a nice simon to remember. It's a simon to remember Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. But l'chayra, there's not so much information here that you're giving up a simon. In other words, you anyway have to know what was created on those days. It's not like you have a word and you have it all there. You have to know what Seishis Mebereshis. So there's a word from the Yid HaKadosh. It's a hafla de kavart. And here the Balatanya, we can understand the word very well. He says, you see in the calendar that Yom Kippur can't fall out on certain days. Which days can't Yom Kippur fall out on? So just like we have on Rosh Hashanah, we say Lo Yadu Rosh Hashanah can't be on a Sunday, or a Wednesday, or a Friday. When it comes to Yom Kippur, the klal is Yom Kippur can't be on the following 3 days. Yom Kippur will never be on a Sunday, Aleph. It'll never be on a Tuesday. And it will never be on a Friday. Never. You will have Yom Kippur on Monday. You will have Yom Kippur on Wednesday. You will have Yom Kippur on Shabbos. Okay? You're never ever going to have Yom Kippur on a Sunday. You never remember Yom Kippur on a Sunday, or on a Tuesday, or on a Friday. You're never going to have Yom Kippur out of Shabbos, right? You're going to have Yom Kippur on Monday, you'll have Yom Kippur Wednesday, and you'll have Yom Kippur on Shabbos. Just hold on with Thursday for a moment. Purim is the exact opposite. Purim is the exact opposite. You'll never ever have Purim on Monday. You'll never ever have Purim on Wednesday. You never have Purim on Shabbos. The exact opposite. Purim you'll have on Sunday. Purim you'll have on Tuesday. Purim you'll have on Friday. We have Purim out of Shabbos. You go into Shabbos. You'll never ever have Purim on the 3 days when Yom Kippur could come out, and you'll never have Yom Kippur on the 3 days that Purim come out. They remain mutually exclusive. It's not that some years there's an overlap. You'll never ever have Yom Kippur on Sunday, Tuesday, Friday. You'll never ever have Purim on Monday, Wednesday, and Shabbos, according to our calendar, ever. Why? That's what the Mishnah is explaining. Because this is the fundamental difference between Yom Kippur and Purim. Yom Kippur represents a day when Tumah wasn't created. It's higher than Tumah. It's higher than impurity. It's days when the stuff of creation don't lend themselves to Tumah. That's Yom Kippur. That's why it's the day of transcendence. It's a day when a Jew leaves the world of Tumah and goes into a world of heaven, a world of Torah. Why is Monday not Makabel Tumah? Because it's Rakia. Why is Wednesday not Makabel Tumah? Because it's Rakia, because it's heaven. You're in the stars, you're in the moon, you're in the sun. Today we already, Megali, you can bring to the moon some stuff from the earth also. But generally, heaven is removed. It's not part of the corruption of the Tumah of our world. There's not so much to sin in outer space. Maybe they're going to change that in the next few years. But you can't sin so much out of space. Here on earth, you can get Gans Tameh. It's a different universe. It's a completely different reality. It's physically and also spiritually what heaven represents. And then the Shabbos. Shabbos is B'chal no creation. Shabbos is Kivoy Shavas B'yom HaShvi. It's higher than the Bria. That's Yom Kippur. Purim is the opposite. The Chiddush of Purim is that Purim is not a day when you segregate from the world. You're telling me that Purim is the same level of intensity of Yom Kippur and even deeper? Haba Hatalia. Because Yom Kippur represents the ultimate Vayikach with the true ultimate Atzmus Ein Sof, that never has to run away from any situation. Fakert. It could come into a place where there's l'chayre tumah, where there's impurity. Yom Kippur, you say, a Jew is segregated. It's a day of Kedusha. Don't eat. Why? Because eating could be animalistic. Don't drink. Drinking could be animalistic. Intimacy could be hedonistic. All materialism, you're involved with materialism, it lends itself to the Yetzer Hara. The Chiddush of Purim is, no, there's a mitzvah of Mishnah. There's a mitzvah of Simcha. Chaim and Purim. Because the Purim is such an intense, powerful level of the ultimate Kedusha, there's complete integration. There's complete unity. You don't segregate from the world of Tumah. Fakert. It infuses, it sublimates, it lifts up, and it permeates and penetrates the physical, most physical world, which is Mekabel Tumah, which is the concept of Sunday, earth, and Tuesday, wood, lumber, vegetation, comes from the earth, and Friday, which is humans, and Shratzim, and Avelis, and Behemoths, and Chayas, all earth, and the Kalim made from them. That's the Chiddush. Purim is only those days. Can't be other days. Because the whole idea of Purim is, as he said, the Ur comes into the Keli. The Ur changes the world. There's no need for asceticism, for precious. There's an union of Yom Kippur, Kodesh HaKadoshim. The Chiddush of Purim is, because it's even deeper, there's no place that it can't reach. It reaches into every single place. There's one exception. Thursday. Thursday is the only day where Yom Kippur and Purim could come together. This year. Purim could be on Thursday, Yom Kippur could be on Thursday. It's a strange thing. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, Shabbos, they never get along. If the day belongs to Yom Kippur, Purim says, sorry, it's not for me. If the day belongs to Purim, Yom Kippur says, it's not for me. One day is different, Thursday. Oh, now go see. You'll see the beauty and the masikis and how the emes dikait of Torah. Torah say no hagdash. What's Thursday? Thursday, the Mishnah says, is also not makabel tuma, besides two things. The bird of the Ozniyah and the beitzes hametzupa, the plated egg of the ostrich. And as the Bartuna and the Mefarshim say, that's midrabanan. Because it was so commonly used by people as kalim, the egg of an ostrich. So when they plate it, and it doesn't look like a regular egg anymore, you may confuse it with a regular keli in your kitchen. And therefore they were geyser to on it, and the same is true with the kind of Hamasni. But minat Torah, it's not makabel toma. Yom Kippur is the Chayom Tif minat Torah, biblically. So Yom Kippur could be on Thursday, because Thursday is a day that's not makabel toma. But Purim is the Chayom Tif midivrei Seifrim. It's not a Yom Tif minat Torah. There's no Purim in Torah. Purim was instituted by the Sanhedrin and by the Nevi'im of the generation of Mordechai and Esther. It's a rabbinic Yom Tif. So Purim is on a day that's makabel tuma, because midrabanan Thursday is makabel tuma. So Thursday is the only day that can be Purim and Yom Kippur, because Thursday is a day that minat Torah there's no tuma, midrabanan there is tuma. So Yom Kippur could be on Thursday because there's no tuma. From Yom Kippur's world, there's no tuma. Purim could be on Thursday because there is tuma. But the other days where it's either or, they belong only to Purim, only to Yom Kippur. So it's not just, it happens to be Purim is a day that we eat. Fundamentally, organically, Purim can only be celebrated in those days where there's room for tuma. Yom Kippur can be celebrated on those days where there's no room for tuma. And that's why Thursday is the only day where they overlap, like this year, Taka, where it's Thursday. And I saw Rabbi Menachem Zemba. Rabbi Menachem Zemba was killed during the Warsaw Ghetto Uprising, Pesach 1943, the Goyim of Varsha. So I saw Rabbi Menachem Zemba has a letter, and he says, he quotes this explanation from the Yid HaKadosh, who was one of the great Hasidic masters, and he says, according to all of this, you could say halachically, that's why the Mishnah had to write it, to tell you a din, that when they had to make the calendar, which days they could make Yom Kippur and which days they could make Purim. So it's a halacha of how to make the calendar. Because for many generations there was no calendar. Purim could be on Shabbos. And that's where the Gemara says in a few places that when Purim falls out on Shabbos, you don't read the Megillah because of Gzeira de Rabbah, just like we don't do Shofar and Lulav on Shabbos. But once they made the calendar, Purim can't be on Shabbos. Yom Kippur is on Shabbos, could be. Purim can't be on Shabbos, just like Purim can't be on Monday, just like Purim can't be on Wednesday, just like Purim can't be on Shabbos, right? So he says, this din comes from this Mishnah. The Mishnah was describing when to make the calendar for Yom Kippur, when to make the calendar for Purim. What's the Nakuda here? What do we learn from all of this? What's the bottom line? The bottom line is that there's two Tnuas in Avodas Hashem. One Tnuah in Avodas Hashem is the Tnuah of Parshas, segregation, asceticism. And that's what Yom Kippur represents. That's the holiness of the day when you leave the earth and you go into heaven as much as a person can. That's the Avodah of Yom Kippur. The Avodah of Purim, in a way, is a deeper Avodah. That a person is completely present within the world, and nonetheless, the person can find the ultimate meaning and the ultimate truth and the ultimate value and the ultimate Ein Sof within all of the realities of the human body, of the human guf, and of the human physical self. The guf is the ultimate keli. So you would say Yom Kippur, you got to go a little beyond the guf as much as possible. So there's no achillah, siyah, rechitza, sichin, ilas, sasandal, tashmish, amita, everything represented by the guf. It's a day of neshama. Purim is a day dafka of the guf. Why? Because mitzad the ultimate Mesiras Nefesh of Purim, there's nothing that's a stira to this type of oir. There's nothing in the world that becomes a contradiction to this type of oir. It could permeate and penetrate every single nakuda, every nook, every cranny, every facet, every dimension, every nuance of existence, every nuance of the guf, of the physical body and the physical world. Every keli could contain it.
How do you touch Tanua?
Tenuah, I meant a style, A tnua, it's the derech, the path. Tnua literally means motion. But it's used as, this is a tnua of, the tnua of Yom Kippur means the focus. The direction of Yom Kippur is one of asceticism. And the direction of Purim is the exact opposite. Somebody's going to decide on Purim, it's such a holy day. I learned in Torah that Purim is holier than Yom Kippur, so I'll lock myself up in my room, I'll fast, right? I'll fast, I won't eat, I won't drink. There's no Purim. You're being over on the mitzvahs of Purim. You have to go and bring a gift of food to a chaver of yours. It's true, you don't have to give the whole Monsey. And the shalach manas doesn't have to be $600. And you don't have to put in there crystal dishes. V'chuli. Mishloach manas means you take an orange, and you take a hamantash, and you give it to a chaver, and you get some shalach manas. But you have to take that food. And Matanas Lavyoinim and Sudas Purim, I can't do Sudas Purim and meditate on the Maila of Purim. Sudas Purim has to be with physical food and Chayev Inish L'Psumah. In fact, one of the reasons for Mishloach Manas, right, Reb Shlomo Al-Kabetz brings in a Sefer Manas Halevi, is because one of the reasons for Matanas Lavyoinim is to be able to have Sudas Purim. Mishloach Manas is to be able to have Sudas Purim. The Gemara says that when they didn't have Sudas Purim, they used to exchange shalach manas to each other. And the same is true, obviously, with Chayev Inish L'Psumah B'Purim and the Megillah, etc. So b'meila, that's the whole. So what does Purim represent? Purim represents the ability of a person to understand that ultimate Mesiris Nefesh doesn't mean I run away from the world. Ultimate Mesiris Nefesh means that wherever I am, complete presence, wherever I am, in my body, in my matzav, in my reality, I'm capable of having complete dvekus, complete oneness with the essence of Ein Sof, with no compromise whatsoever. And on the contrary, the higher you go, the deeper you go, the more into Kalim you go. When it's something that is a limited oir, then it's also limited where it can reach. Something that's truly, truly unlimited, what he calls your Atzmus Ein Sof, there's no limit where it could reach. It doesn't have to be restricted. There's no place that's off limits. Basically, God, I'm too low for you. I'm too low. When you touch the real truth, there's absolutely no limit where it can go. When you touch a lower level of there's cheshbonis. Here I can go, here I can't go. This is too restrictive. Your keli won't be able to take me, and so forth. When you go to the deepest place, then because you touch the deepest then nothing is off limit. It can reach everything. It can reach everywhere. That's the Chiddush of Purim.
I learned that the light of Yom Kippur is Keser, is manifested with Keser. So that light, you're saying, is manifest in form in all the Kalim.
In all the Kalim. That's why the beginning of the Megillah is Kalim Mikalim Shoinim. Right?
The argument between Hasidim and Misnagim.
What do you mean?
Yes, the idea of the Hasidim bringing in the worldly things into being the holiest, and the Misnagim saying no, the holiness is really the opposite. It's not the Gashmias.
Interesting. But the truth is, in Yiddishkeit, in other words, there's the concept of Yom Kippur and the concept of Purim. Both have a very powerful truth. Right? In other words, for a person to be able to celebrate Purim, they have to have Yom Kippur. Because if not, a person can also misinterpret it in the opposite extreme. Right? So this Totanus, yeah?
But the Mishnah Keelan is only referring to Yedal. Tesvav, which is Shushan from can fall out on So what's the message there?
I guess you drank so much on Purim, you need a little Yom Kippur. The next day you need a little Yom Kippur. I hear you, Ha'ara.
I was celebrating it on the same day of the week that Yom Kippur falls. So
I'm telling you, no.
It's for us. What about people in Shushan? In the Yerushalayim, let's say, the fact that Purim for them is on Yom Kippur.
Yeah, the fact, I guess, that the Rav Klal Yisrael celebrates Purim on Purim, I mean, that's the Nekuda of Purim. I guess if it's Mukaf Chaima, if you're surrounded by a wall, it's more like Yom Kippur. It's a famous Svasemes, he explains the difference of Yehuda and Yosef. Yehuda, his chelik was Yerushalayim in Eretz Yisrael. Yosef, his territory was Shiloh. In Shiloh there was a Mishkan for 369 years. In Yerushalayim you had the Beis HaMikdash for more than 800 years. Halachically there's a difference between the two. Very interesting halacha. In Mesechus Zvachim Kuf Tezayin, a Mishnah. By the Beis HaMikdash, if you were makriv a carbon, you can eat it in the whole city of Yerushalayim, the old city of Yerushalayim, but only within the wall. It's called Kachem Kalim. Let's say you made makriv a carbon Pesach, a carbon Toida, a carbon Shlomim. A lot of the carbonas, right? You could take it out of the Beis HaMikdash, go home. Like the carbon Pesach, you would go home and you would have a barbecue and everybody would eat it in Yerushalayim. What if you take it out of the walls of Yerushalayim? Nifsal b'yotza. It's such holy meat. If you take it out of the atmosphere of Yerushalayim, it's like allergic. It gets disqualified. You have to burn it. You can't eat it anymore. Why? Because it has to remain in the avira, in the luft, in the atmosphere, in the ambiance of Yerushalayim to maintain its kedusha. If you take it out, right? So it's like, somebody, the opposite, somebody with a with a failed immune system, a patient whose immune system is very, very sensitive, right? You have to keep them quarantined in certain environments. Tell them, don't go to a chasana, don't go out, don't go to, why? Because you don't have the immunity to be able to fight back the bacteria, the germs that may enter your body. So we have that concept also spiritually speaking, that the atmosphere of Yerushalayim is a different atmosphere. It's a holy atmosphere. So the meat of the carbon could be there. If you take it outside, you take it onto Kvish Mispar Shesh, going to Tel Aviv, there's already too much going on, and the meat becomes disqualified. It gets, so to speak, different types of energy, and you can't eat it as a carbon. That's the halach in Yerushalayim. When it came to Shiloh, the halacha changed. There was no Chaim around Shiloh. So the halacha is, the Lashon of Chazal is, Niskadesh b'kol haraya, which means you could take the meat as far as you want, even miles and miles away from the Mishkan, and eat it there as long as you could see the Mishkan. In other words, theoretically, it could be, if it's a nice day, it could be 50 miles down the road, 50 miles away, go on a mountain, see the Mishkan, and you can eat the carbon there. In other words, it's not confined to the walls of Yerushalayim. It could be far, far away as long as you could see the Mishkan. So he explains that was the chiluk of Yehuda and Yosef in their hashkafa. Yehuda believed that Kedusha has to remain within a chayma, within a confinement. Hoysa Yehuda lekatshai. That was the shit of Yehuda. So therefore in Eretz Yisrael also, it comes into Yerushalayim, you can only bring the kachim inside of Yerushalayim. Yosef's shitta was l'sakin oilam b'malchus shendalad yud. That the truth of godliness ultimately has to change the whole world. The whole universe can be transformed. There's no walls where Kedusha has to remain in order to survive. On the contrary, you can go to the furthest places with one condition. You have to be able to see. You have to be able to see the Mishkan. If you can open your eyes and see the Mishkan over there, you could see Kedusha there. This becomes holy. You can eat karbanos right here. What happened to Yosef? He went to Ervas Haaretz. He went to the lowest place. But in a moment of truth, Dmuz di Yoiknoi shel Yaakov aviv ra b'chaloyin. He saw Yaakov representing the Shechina, the Mishkan, one of the Avos. He saw Dmuz di Yoiknoi shel Yaakov aviv ra b'chaloyin. Vayonos vayetze hachutza. Vayetze hachutza. He didn't have to be in a chayme. He could be in the furthest place. But Dmuz di Yoiknoi shel Yaakov aviv ra b'chaloyin. Says this was a big machlokes between Yehuda and Yosef. This was the brothers and Yosef. So a huge machlokes. And it comes out in halacha in Yerushalayim versus Mishkan Shiloh. And Taka it says la'asid lavai prazos teishav Yerushalayim. What's that prazos teishav Yerushalayim? Yerushalayim will sit open without walls. Literally it means because there won't be any enemy. You won't need a wall. Spiritually it means that you won't need the wall to contain the kedusha, because bisman hazeh there's an akudah in Yosef, there's also an akudah in Yehuda. Right? If there's no limits, if all the fortresses are down, it sounds very beautiful, but a person who has weaknesses and could be influenced in a bad way, you have to have walls, you have to have gedarim, you have to have boundaries. You can't say no boundaries, einoid mulvadai. To be able to say einoid mulvadai, it has to come from a place of strength, not from a place of weakness. If you're vulnerable, then the einoid mulvadai becomes a mockery. So you have the Tnu of Yehuda, the Tnu of Yosef, until there's man of Prozes Teishav Yerushalayim. So Shushan Purim is the Zman of Chayma. That's the union of a Chayma. Makav, like Yerushalayim, Makav is Chametz Yeshua ben Nun. So that's more similar to Yom Kippur. Ken yesh shloima b'derech efsher. In response to your question. Okay. You were Teufel the Mishnah. You understand the Mishnah? Huh? Adohay ben Avart.
So what was the actual about this?
No, he just says about Yehuda and Yosef, Shil and Yerushalayim.
That's what he says.
Yeah. Shalomdim Masechta Kelim Kacha, Afshar Lavin et ze, nachon? Du bist noch haben Tainug ein Tag in Nigla. Du bist noch haben Tainug ein Tag, ja. Aber du drehst dich herum ein bisschen mehr, wirst noch haben Tainug ein Tag in Nigla. Bist in jeder Stickel Nigla ein Seif. I looked up the Mishnah in Safaria. So he says, it's Kalim Yud Zayin, right? Kalim Yud Zayin, Mishnah Yud Aleph. So he says, on the fourth day and on the fifth day, nothing created is susceptible to impurity except for the wing of the vulture. The wing of the vulture. It's a hunting bird, and the wing was very powerful. So they turned it into a keli, I guess. A broom, you think? Or something else. Some type of... Or an ostrich egg that was plated. Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri said, why would the wing of a vulture be different from all other wings? So he disagreed. But he didn't disagree about the egg of an ostrich.
Translated so differently. I heard 3 translations so far this morning.
I saw buzzard, vulture, which is the same thing. The same family. Then that's what
You saw Znia as a what? A black eagle?
yeah, black eagle or
Osprey.
Asprey beard? A bird?
Osprey was a fishing bird. It was created because it's not in that hemisphere. It's over here in the
So they wouldn't know about an asprey there.
New World bird. So it's not.
Interesting.
I think that's what.
So you saw a black eagle or asprey, and what's the third one? A buzzard or vulture? A black vulture, okay. But I guess it was a wing that they used to turn into a keli. Fascinating.
Falcon and a hawk. I don't know.
So it's only midirabanan. It's only mekabel tumah midirabanan.
This class is brought to you by theyeshiva.net. Please help us continue the classes. Make even a small contribution at www.theyeshiva.net/donate.